Get appalled at. I'm blacker than Nina the Samoan. I just want freedom and want all these people left alone. How in the world is that champing you? Laughable, you catch an attitude. Glad that you going back.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries, in which we discuss Impact Wrestling from November the 4th, 2021, in which the moment the Forbidden Door closed, Impact got a lot more interesting. So Tony Khan makes a very public comment that AEW and Impact do not have any further dealings from this point on, well, none planned. And it's been, before I get into the show, let's talk about that a little bit. Because it seems that one of the podcasters I follow, Don Tony, was actually right. That it was the pandemic was the forbidden door. And that a lot of companies decided to work together during the pandemic. And once it started seeming like the pandemic was going to end, most of these companies decided to go back to their respective corners and, not really have much to do with each other anymore. Of course, there's not a lot of mudslinging. It was a short stay relationship. It was never meant to be long term. And it seemed like the AEW fans was only interested in it for the first couple of weeks, maybe the first month or two. They were really into the forbidden door. Of who's going to jump in the forbidden door, who's going to cross the forbidden door. And then it just turned out it's just going to be the Good Brothers. It's just going to be Kenny Omega. All those dream matches you were thinking of in your mind about, it's going to be Sami Callihan versus Jon Moxley, and Britt Baker and Deonna Purrazzo, or they're going to tear it up or be a tag team or whatever, and it didn't happen. None of it happened. Probably none of it was even discussed. And the moment that AEW can have full crowds again, the moment that Impact goes back to crowds, everybody, they're suddenly not interested in doing Forbidden Door stuff anymore. Well, AEW isn't. Impact's still doing it. They're doing it with New Japan. They're doing it with NWA. They're doing it with AAA. They're still doing the cross promotion, but that's what Impact has always done. That's why the Forbidden Door didn't make any sense. Because Impact was always the kind of company that wanted to have partnerships with other wrestling companies. Throughout history, they used to have the X Division Cup or something like that, the X Cup, where they have Japan teams and Mexico teams and all that kind of stuff. They've always been this way. It was AEW that was doing something different, and they was only doing it because it benefited them. And now it doesn't benefit them anymore. They don't need the Impact World title anymore. Therefore, they don't need the Impact wrestlers anymore. And they didn't do anything when they had access to them. You had constantly had Tony Khan on the screen, down talking Impact. You had Jericho going out here doing interviews about, you won't see Chris Jericho going to Nashville. You had Sammy Guevara. A guy wasn't even on TV at the time. The dude that was most famous for saying he wanted to rape Sasha Banks got all high and mighty and didn't want to do business in Impact. Like, this stuff was snake bit from the jump. It did not work. I don't think it helped Impact at all. I think if anything, it hurt them. It hurt them for the long term, if we're being honest. And near the end, you started seeing people say, well, TNA going to TNA. Look at what they did. AEW set them up, brought them to the finish line. All they had to do was write the story and score the goal. All they had to do was this. And they screwed it up. And it's like, you don't understand, the thing was screwed up from the beginning, man. It was screwed up from the jump because Impact did not do a good job, and this is partly AEW's fault, of lining up a guy who could beat Kenny Omega. Because they didn't have anybody on their roster to do that. Nobody on their roster was good enough to beat Kenny Omega. Not because I think Kenny Omega is so great, but because Kenny Omega is a top tier world champion. Okay? He has to do a job in order to lose the belt. Creatively, you could have done something else. But let's just say he had to have his shoulders pinned to the mat in order to lose the title. That means that there had to be somebody on the Impact roster that Tony Khan was okay with putting over. And there was not. And there was not. Therefore, he got to play the power game. You know what? I'm going to take Kenny Omega off the board. We're just going to replace him with Christian. And then you could just have somebody beat Christian. The bar is so much lower. Okay, we'll have Josh Alexander beat Christian. Tony Khan doesn't care. Doesn't even have to talk about it anymore. Christian pops up on Dynamite, not the Impact World Champion anymore. Nobody cares. No big deal. No biggie. No problem. Funny how that works. But the show infinitely looks so much better now. It's the same show, same format and everything. But Impact is now more focused on building their own stuff, you know. And they still do utilize a lot of outside talent a lot. But I see them putting more effort into their own storylines, putting more effort into their own signings than they used to. Which is ironic for me to say, considering the first match on the show featured Laredo Kid becoming the number one contender for the X Division title. Laredo Kid is a AAA wrestler. Right? But this continues the concept of they have always been a cross-promotion type of promotion. Laredo Kid defeats Steve Macklin, Rohit Raju, and Black Taurus. Black Taurus is another AAA guy. Steve Macklin seems to be the guy that they really want to push, but they're going to make him earn it. Laredo Kid and Trey Miguel shook hands after the match in preparation for their match at Turning Point, which I'm actually very interested in. I'm very interested in Trey Miguel versus Laredo Kid. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Steve Macklin beat them both up after the match because he's still pretty mad that he's not going to get the fight for the X Division title. And Infinite it's already better than what it was before. And there was no AEW guys in this division at that point in time. But it seemed like they're really behind Trey. I have been behind Trey for a long time. Laredo Kid is one of Conan's favorite guys. I know that he kind of gets tight-assed about Laredo Kid losing, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to be too upset if Laredo Kid loses to Trey Miguel, who is going to be one of Impact's guys. I know he gets real tight-assed about Laredo Kid doing jobs like when he did them in MLW. He was not a fan of that. All right. Madison Rayne. Madison Rayne is going to wrestle Mickie James for the Knockouts Championship. And Mickie James wins the match with a whoopee cushion, which is a flying seat. Well, the whoopee cushion was a flip. This was more like a dive where Mickie James's butt hits Madison Rayne directly in the chest and pins her. She actually took out Caleb during this match too. This match was the third match on the show, which is very weird for a title match, especially one that they built up as being a serious title match due to Madison Rayne's history with the Knockouts title. She's like a 5-time Knockouts champion, but she's also wrestling under somebody else's theme song, so it's very odd to be in this position. After the match, Mickie James wins. After the match, Mercedes Martinez came out there, challenged Mickie James for Turning Point, and I was like, okay, I like this. Mercedes Martinez, seasoned vet. She's apparently signed to Impact now. This is good. This is excellent. Would you switch the title? I probably would. And I think Mickie James being a transitional champion is for the best. I don't see a problem with her losing the title to Mercedes Martinez to establish her, because that's really the point of Mickie James being the champion right now. Deonna Purrazzo had a long title run. And sure, you could have had somebody younger or somebody that you were trying to build beat her. Maybe you could have had Mercedes Martinez beat Deonna Purrazzo and skip the whole Mickie James thing from the beginning. But I like the idea of Deonna Purrazzo being on the outside and having to fight her way back in, because it gives her something to do rather than just be the champion. I like the idea of Mickie James versus Mercedes Martinez. It's something that, these are two women who are above the age of 35 who, WWE thought were, didn't have it anymore, kind of washed up or whatever. And Mickie James she's not out there going like she was when she was younger, but she still got some spark left. And Mercedes Martinez is still pretty good too. A little stiff, but she's still pretty good. I mean stiff. I don't mean she works stiff. I mean she moves a little stiff. But she's still pretty good too. She has a decent aura to her. So I'm interested in that. That's already far more interesting than what they were doing with the Knockouts division before. Even though I was a fan of Deonna Purrazzo, they didn't do a really good job with her. Violent by Design came out there. They cut a promo. Violent by Design. Rhino made a mistake, made the wrong decision. You know, and choices have consequences. He says, once you're violent by design, you're violent by design forever. 6 months, Eric Young was out of action. Now it's time for him to get his hands dirty. He introduces his opponent, who saunters to the ring wearing some type of yak shit in his head that would make any girl in the hood jealous. Honestly, that had to be weave. I hope that you watched Impact while you're listening to this, because there's no way for me to explain how saucy this guy was. And he was very weird. And I'm telling you, he had to have been wearing a pound of weave. In any event, Eric Young asked the guy what his name was. He said his name was Jay something or other. And he said, okay, well, Jay, is this your first time on TV? He's like, yes, and I'm very excited. Oh, like, what is going on here? Then Eric Young said that he was sick. He had the disease. He got some kind of disease. But Eric Young has the cure. Then Eric Young kicked his ass and pinned him. They beat up Jay. I like Eric Young. I like this character for Eric Young. I'm not a fan of Eric Young's matches, though. Eric Young is one of the few guys where I would say that he got fired from WWE, and I think it really motivated him. I'm thinking like he's really in a better position since he's been fired. You know, because I mean, it's still sad though that all of the years of Eric Young as a comedy jobber, and this is what he had within him, as far as, you know, creativity and characters and stuff like that. I can't believe it took him to get like a bootleg Daniel Bryan title run for him to actually become something. Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, they cut a promo. Ace Austin is wearing a shirt that says, I beat Chris Sabin. Not as impactful as I broke Steve Austin's neck or I broke Wahoo McDaniel's leg or something like that. Not quite as impactful, but it has the same purpose. Of course, Madman Fulton wouldn't get a shirt that says he beat Chris Sabin because he did not. He lost. Madman Fulton always loses. What is the purpose of a heavy who doesn't handle the dirty work? What is the purpose of Madman Fulton to Ace Austin? At what point does your bodyguard or partner who continues to lose, despite being twice your size, continues to lose and get beat up and get shown up and get kicked around as if he was a small boy? At what point do you finally cut bait with this guy? Like, Ace Austin will have to be Madman Fulton's legitimate blood brother or his goddamn daddy in order for him to have this kind of loyalty to a guy who loses so much. It's ridiculous. Fulton never fucking wins. And Impact never does anything to try to make him look or feel like a threat. He's just a big lumbering idiot. He's an idiot, like, all the time. It's embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. The Inspiration. They have a couple of segments on this show, about 3. The Inspiration were going to be on Locker Room Talk. Madison Rayne was supposed to host Locker Room Talk with the Inspiration after she won the Knockouts title, but she didn't win, so she wasn't there. Instead, they go to Locker Room Talk and they find out that it's haunted. The lights turn out and there's funny laughter and they running around in this room like it's a haunted house or a fun house from what was that Batman movie? Shit, it was a comic book. I forgot. Anyway, you got this joint, and they got challenged by Decay to a rematch at Turning Point. Then they do a promo in which Cassie complains that she didn't sign up to be a Ghostbuster and is not interested in fighting ghosts. Billy Kay doesn't believe in ghosts and thinks that Cassie was making it up. That she's seeing things, that she is, not quite there. Cassie then asks Gia, how do we go about avoiding ghosts? To which she is then told to stay away from dark places, and they like to lurk in dark corners. And that if you have a problem with decay, how about you ask the undead brides? And now they're interested in the undead brides. They're like, what are these undead brides that you're talking about? And so Gia Miller tells them about the undead brides that live in the demon realm. And I was just looking at this shit like I'm am I high? I can't be, because I don't get high. So how well, they're not in the demon realm, or was it the undead realm, or whatever it's called. They're hiding out in the corners of the buildings or whatever. So the inspiration run off to try to find the undead brides, and they slink around in the dark. Finally finding, I believe it was Kimberly and Brandy Lauren, or Brandy Lauren, however you want to say it, and asked them to fight decay on their behalf, to which the undead bridesmaids laughed and said that their mother loves free souls or new souls or whatever. And they giggle and walk off without really answering the question. And this leads Cassie to make jokes about that Billy should now believe in ghosts. And okay, this is them being them. It wasn't as funny as, some of the iconic skits, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. These two being launched into the supernatural of Impact so fast, immediately, is actually quite humorous. Because it's like they didn't work. There was no lube. They just threw it in there, man. It's like, you know what? Impact has an undead realm. Hey, have fun. Go figure it out. Wait until they find out that Rosemary and Havoc were having Dragon Ball Z style fight scenes with fireballs and shit in this demon realm, or in the basement of Impact, or whatever the hell it was they were doing, this combination kung fu fight, Dragon Ball, Street Fighter thing. I can't wait. It ought to be fun to watch Cassie and I keep calling her Billy Kay. I don't know what her fucking name is. In any event, the Good Brothers wrestled FinJuice. The Bullet Club interfered and punched them all in the dick. Now FinJuice has to wrestle the Bullet Club next week. The winners will be wrestling the Good Brothers for the tag team titles. Interesting thing there that he didn't make a lot out of is that the Bullet Club beat up the Good Brothers. For obvious reasons. The Good Brothers are not members of Bullet Club. So I'm guessing they're going to actually do the Bullet Club Civil War thing in Impact. I still expect FinJuice to win that match. I hate FinJuice. I hate him so much. But Juice Robinson has the look that I've been talking about as far as being very loud. He has a very... you can tell that he studied Randy Savage with his gear. I just wish he actually had a Randy Savage style personality, which he doesn't. He comes across as a dork. So he can't be nothing but a dork to me. Johnny Swinger, my man Johnny Swinger, he out here trying to sell his prized portrait of him riding, I think it was a horse. Trying to sell it because he wants to buy a new casino out in Las Vegas. Hernan Daddy had an idea of how to make this quick cash. And him and Johnny Swinger are off to do something about it. I cannot wait to see what it is. What kind of scheme, what kind of scam, what kind of hustle is these two about to get into. I can't wait to find out. It's going to be so much fun. Where did I leave off? Matt Cardona, Eddie Edwards, and Josh Alexander lose to Moose, W. Morrissey, and Minoru Suzuki. Minoru Suzuki and Josh Alexander supposedly have a blood feud that I didn't know anything about. Because I thought Josh Alexander's blood feud was with Moose, the guy who attacked him, stole his world title while his family was in the ring. all 100% understandable to why you want to rip that man's head off and piss down his neck. But for some reason, Josh Alexander was laser focused on Minoru Suzuki, who is laser focused on him. And then Josh Alexander didn't, I know that the story is that Josh Alexander is supposed to be maintaining his emotions. That's what they talked about in their promo before the match. That Eddie Edwards wanted him to contain his emotions. But no, the world title was stolen from you. You should go out there, and it shouldn't be a headlock or anything. You should just be throwing hands. And if Minoru Suzuki wants to get in the way, hit him with an elbow or something like that. But him and Moose really should have been tearing into each other. And that's the kind of storytelling that you needed to have, I think. I really don't think they should have had a match immediately. I think it's only the second week since Moose won the title. They really probably shouldn't have had contact so soon. But this match was not good, though. Eddie Edwards is fat. Let's back it up. He's not fat. He's chunky, and he's not working out, and you could tell. When he got powerbombed, his shirt came up, and it just he looked like Eric Cartman by the body, and it was very weird, man. I'm like, at least go to the gym, please. When he started doing the deathmatch garbage, it's like he just said, "Fuck it, I don't need to go to the gym anymore." And it's unfortunate. Everybody else was in good shape, though. Even Minoru Suzuki, even though he was old. I still am not on the Minoru Suzuki train. I don't care enough about him. I don't see why we have such veneration for the Japanese guy. He didn't do anything here. But the forbidden door is closed, with the exception of Impact doing its normal operations of doing stuff with other companies. And I guess the special deal they might have with NWA to use Mickie James. But Mickie James is great in the dual role because she's really good in NWA as well. She's a big enough star she can handle being in two different companies. And I thoroughly thought this was better than the shows before it, in terms of storytelling, instead of building stars that they actually signed. Just putting as much effort as they did in the inspiration in their segments was better, than what they usually do. So at least you'll have people who can do some entertainment, who can do some comedy stuff. And I wish they weren't the tag team champions already. That's the thing about Hot Shot and the inspiration to the top, is that I ran on this rant in my AEW review about the grind. Getting people behind you by using the grind. And Impact is the worst. You just show up and get an Impact title. Like, hey, I'm here. It's like, you're not going to earn it? Nah, I just want a title shot. Okay, sure. Here, do that. And it's like, wow, okay, it was that easy. Instead of, there being weeks and weeks of the inspiration being thrust into the weirdness of the Knockouts division and them fighting and scratching their way to the top. But at the same time, I think they're supposed to be heels. I don't know. I'm not sure if I think they are supposed to be heels. But I'm glad that they're getting the emphasis that they deserve. I'm glad to see Laredo Kid win. Glad to see, Impact doing at least slightly better, even if the numbers don't show it. They seem to actually put more emphasis on what they want now. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort, so question as